On Monday, Nampa School Board trustees that came together for a special work session that evening to address the recent removal of books from their district library shelves. Session didn't lead to any decisions. They were just there to listen to ideas, but there was a lot of discussion surrounding the process for challenged books. Those closest to this process would be the librarians who spoke up during the work session, and one of them also spoke to Katya Stepovic about the path forward.
On Monday, Nampa School Board trustees came together to try and find a path forward on their book challenging process.
There was some processes in place for this challenge book process, but personally, I just didn't see all of it at one time written down, something that I could hand to a parent in the community when asked, what is the process for challenging books?
And for some board members, the move to remove the books was the right one.
I just believe some of those books just should not be in the library, because I know how kids are. They're going to go find those books and they're going to look at those, what's in there. And I just think that school is supposed to be a safe place.
Nancy Finney has been Nampa's high school librarian for 24 years. She was invited to Monday's board workshop to share thoughts and ideas on how to move forward. She says schools are a safe place and removing books could potentially be harmful.
Not everyone's going to like every book that's ever written. In our day and age, what so many people are living through is not necessarily a pretty, flowery, happy time. Some people are living through some pretty bad things, and there needs to be ways to cope with it.
She says a way to cope, being exposed to realistic life situations by reading and learning about them. She says not many know the vetting process that books go through before they actually make it to school shelves.
We look at age appropriateness. I look at award winners. I look at what the kids ask me to get. I look at a lot of different things before I determine which books to put in the library.
I wish there was more parent engagement, with my classes, with my students, not less.
Brian Coffey, English teacher at Nampa High School and president of the Nampa Education Association, says when the board decided to pull the long list of books, there was already a process in place for challenging books, one he thinks could have been beneficial.
The new procedure that was being used on a trial basis involved creating a group of stakeholders that included parents, administrators, and certified staff to actually review any book that was challenged. And the idea was to actually have this working group read the books to understand what was happening, summarize them, and make a recommendation to the board so that the board wouldn't have to actually read every single book.
But according to the chairman of the board, Jeff Kirkman, the process wasn't straightforward enough for him to vote against the book ban. So it's back to the drawing board.
That there's more to this story than just the idea that there's some language that's arguably or that's controversial or arguably inappropriate or challenging.
He believes a push to ban books is part of a broader movement.
The suspicion, because of how these things are playing out in other states, is that what it's really about is an anti-trans, anti-LGBTQ, cultural war issues, anti-BIPOC author issues. And I think, people are more savvy now. They know that they can't come out and say, you should ban this book because the author is Black. That's not really going to be publicly, actionable. So instead you call it pornography.
Monday's work session was meant to discuss and listen to different perspectives. So while no changes were made, no books were brought back, both Coffey and Finney are hopeful that maybe someday the books will return.
Will this result in more dialogue, more education, and the trustees actually read some of these books and understand what's really happening? I hope so.
I hope that people would not just look at a list of most objected to books and say, oh, this must be a bad book. Until you read it, you don't know.
Until you read it, you don't know. The solution to this obviously isn't easy. Some would say have the board members and parents read the books cover to cover before challenging instead of just portions of it. But how do you enforce that? Give them a pop quiz before challenging it? And also some of these trustees and parents think these books are offensive and might not want to read them for that very reason, Brian. But according to staff, the procedure that they were doing on that trial basis was pretty promising, but apparently, like we have come to know, not straightforward enough for board members.
But you would think requiring somebody to read a book if they're going to complain about it would be kind of a given, and it still boggles the mind that that wasn't a requirement before. I know they're still setting that thing up, but I think it's interesting what Mr. Coffey said about the real reason behind some of this stuff, and I think nowhere is that more evident than with The Kite Runner. This is a book written by Khalid Masani about a kid growing up in Kabul, Afghanistan, and to say that there were pornographic references in there is quite a stretch, to be honest.
Yeah,
and so,
a little deeper.
Yeah. All right. So, yeah, requiring them to read it as step one would be a good step one. Thanks, Katya.